So our theme this month is the light of the world. And our topic today is into the light. With the Christmas celebration coming up this week, today I'd like to present to you some more ways that humanity expresses the light that is created and shared by our source of being, demonstrated around and through each one of us. And following this talk, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have our annual candle lighting ceremony. In Exodus, a Bible story, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, saw that it was good, and divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and it called the darkness night. Today, at sundown, here in Hawaii, the Jewish holiday known as Hanukkah begins, and you may be interested to know that originally the word Hanukkah was known as the Festival of Lights. I've chosen this theme, the light of the world, for our Sunday talks this month because the light of the world is the one mind, the one spirit, the organizing intelligence which creates all things out of itself. I call it God. You may have another name for it. Other religions and philosophies have a variety of names. But it is that light behind the consciousness that produces ways for humanity to celebrate its joy and its wonder. And that power is an organizing power. That power is worshipped and adored by some, feared and avoided by others, and sometimes denied or ignored by still others. But the one mind, the source and substance behind everything, whether all of us recognizes it or not, is that creative energy. In the beginning story of the Bible, we read the words that I mentioned at the beginning. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw the light, saw that it was good, divided light from darkness, called the light day, and called the night darkness. This story is meant to convey to us metaphysically that God creates out of itself in an orderly sequence heaven and earth, night and day, water and land, plants and animals, darkness and light, all examples of order and sequence. In metaphysics, darkness or night refers to ignorance, and light of day refers to intelligence and understanding. We could say then that the darkness of ignorance gives way to the light of understanding. The word light also has two aspects: illumination, which is wisdom and intelligence, and energy, which is the substance that is the foundation of all life. So in the story of the creation, where we hear the words, "Let there be light," we realize that we have available to us wisdom, understanding, and light-giving energy. Gifts of a powerful and loving creative spirit that wants us to be in celebration of life all the time. I think it's a tribute to humanity that diverse religions, societies, and cultures have developed so many ways of honoring the gift of life with their various holidays and celebrations. Rather than seeing these as ways to separate ourselves from others and accent our differences, I'd like to see us honor each other's rituals and respect the creativity with which God expresses through them. I found an article in Delia Seller's monthly newspaper, which is titled Abundant Living. And this really speaks to me. The article by Tom Brown is called Removing the Mask. Brown writes, in India, when meeting a local stranger, one bows and says, Namaste, which means the divine spark within me honors the divine spark within you. Each time we acknowledge the light in another, we affirm that reality in ourselves as well. We sometimes lose sight of the light within ourselves, and we wear masks to protect those places in us where our heart is bruised or hurt. At some time, somewhere, we may have felt as though having an open heart caused us pain or humiliation. Thus, we made a decision. And that decision was to put on a mask and to put armor all around ourselves, and especially around our heart, to protect ourselves from ever feeling that pain again. In the future, the real frontier will not be space, will not be the ocean floor, will not be telecommunications, genetic engineering, or other external pursuits. The real frontier will be in the area of human relations, where we have removed our masks and we see each other in our oneness. When that happens, we will see everything as a manifestation or expression of divinity itself. We will live at a different level of consciousness than when we got lost in appearances and limiting beliefs. The single transformation of vision is the most profound happening in a human life. Scientists are now discovering that when ancient tribes have spoken, this is what they have known: that everything is connected in an infinite web, and that in the making of one blade of grass, or a tree, or a human being, the whole universe takes part. Realization of this unity brings respect, gratitude, and compassion for life in all forms. We must remove our own masks and reveal ourselves at the deepest levels in order to find out how loving we really are. When we dig deeply enough into our real nature, we do not find darkness. We find endless light. I really like that phrase, endless light. For me, it really speaks to the eternality within us. And I found myself repeating the words, each time we acknowledge the light in another, we affirm that reality in ourselves. That's really another way of saying namaste. And it's the key to accepting our oneness with God and with each other. At the beginning of my talk this morning, I made reference to Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, and that's in the Jewish religion, and that this 8-day celebration begins tonight in the Jewish faith. So I'd like to share a story with you that I heard about a little girl and her first memories of Hanukkah. She was 6 years old, in the first grade, when her teacher put up a Christmas tree in their classroom, no surprise, and then also invited the class to participate in the lighting of the menorah candles for the 8 days of Hanukkah. The teacher told the class the story of how in ancient times the Maccabees were fierce Jewish warriors, and they had fought a great battle to defend their people. She explained that they fought until all their provisions were gone, even the oil for the eternal lamp over the altar in the synagogue. The burning presence of this lamp in the Jewish faith meant that God's Spirit lived among them. And they feared that when the lamp went out, God would abandon them. But the lamp continued to burn for 8 days without any oil to feed it. And the Maccabees triumphed over their enemies. Well, the child liked lighting the candles, but didn't care much for the story about the war. And because her grandfather was a rabbi, she had been taught that the Spirit of God is with all people. And she didn't really believe the story about God playing favorites. 6 years old, pretty good. That afternoon, she went to visit her grandfather, and she asked him about the story of the war that she had heard from her teacher in the classroom. The rabbi explained to her that the meaning, or that is, he explained the meaning of that story to her. He said that in the Jewish belief, war meant a time of darkness. And in times of darkness, people told each other stories about the light to strengthen their hope. He then went on to describe to her that the lighting of the candles each night at sunset during those 8 days of Hanukkah was so they could burn through the night until the sun rose the next day. He related to her the story he called the beginning of the world, saying in the beginning, darkness was over the waters, and the Spirit of God moved in the darkness like a great wind over the face of the water. And God said, let there be light. His eyes shone as he explained to his daughter, his granddaughter, that life and all its blessings begin with God's gift of light. So each afternoon for the next 8 days, the small girl and her grandfather sat in his study, waiting for the sun to set and the room to grow dark. Each night, they lit one more candle than the day before, until on the last night, all the candles in the menorah were burning, and the room was filled with light. The child was moved by its beauty and said, "It's beautiful, Grandpa." "Ah, yes," the old man said, "but God's menorah is even more beautiful. God's menorah is made of people, not candles." The story of Hanukkah says that God's light burns in the darkness, even without oil. That is one of the miracles of the light. But there's much more. There is a place in everyone that can carry the light. God has made us this way. And God says, "Let there be light." It's speaking to us personally. It's telling us what is possible, how we might choose to live. But one candle does not do much in the darkness. God has not only given us the chance to carry the light, it's made it possible for us to kindle and strengthen the light in one another, passing the light along. And this is the way God's light will shine forever in the world. When we dig deeply enough into our own nature, we do not find darkness. We find endless light. There is a place in every one of us where we carry the light of wisdom and understanding. We are all products of the one power, creative mind, loving spirit, whatever you choose to call it. I think we can look at the celebrations of this holiday time with new eyes or new light. Though many of the activities and ceremonies may not have their origins in religious rituals, we can bring new meaning and inspiration to them through our understanding of humankind's need to celebrate life. I love all the bright lights and the festive music this time of the year. I really enjoy the wonderful smells of scented candles and hot spiced cider. I especially love shopping by dialing 1-800-Land's End or the Home Shopping Network. I've even ordered things through the internet, and they actually arrive on my doorstep. I'm still astounded that my order goes straight to the UPS driver, and he just shows up with the very thing, the right size, the right color, and the right invoice. And though lighting a menorah doesn't have the same emotional feeling for me as turning the lights on the Christmas tree, I can honor and respect traditions that are meaningful for others. What does have profound meaning is the phrase the old man related to his daughter when he said, God has not only given us the chance to carry the light, he has made it possible for us to kindle and strengthen the light in one another, passing the light along. This is the way God's light will shine forever in the world. During this month, we have the opportunity to share a variety of ideas, stories, and ways that various cultures and religions celebrate at this time of the year. So today, we've returned to the source and substance of all life as we acknowledge the age-old quote, "Let there be light." This light is available to us as wisdom, understanding, and the giving energy. These are the gifts of a loving, creative spirit that wants only for us to be in the celebration of life all the time. Our holidays and our special celebrations provide special opportunities. I think for those of us to be mindful of the gifts we have already received from a limitless universal source is the opportunity to pass that on, whether it's in the form of a gift or it's in the form of the love and the recognition and the light that we observe in others. And the same is true for the myriad of cultures and societies down through the ages. Through our cultural holiday experiences, we can learn that the joys of giving, of sharing, and of caring, which are heightened in us during the holiday season, can be carried over into our daily lives and activities. And the same is true for the myriad of cultures and societies down through the ages. In the story of the creation in the Bible, God is quoted as saying, "Let there be light. Let there be light." The message there is that we are always a choice in our lives, even in this. We can choose to stay in the darkness of ignorance, or we can choose to come into the light of wisdom and understanding, just as it is our own hand that lights the candle or throws the switch that lights up the Christmas tree. We must initiate action to bring about light into our own lives and to honor and respect it in others. So let there be light in your life. Let there be joy and peace and love and goodwill in your life. For as you let these into your life, you will see them reflected back to you everywhere you look. The divine spark in you, honoring the divine spark in me, is the light of the world. Namaste. And so it is.